Join me in welcoming to the Miami Book Fair, Mr. Michael Moore.
Thank you. Wow. Thank you. Thank you, please. Thank you. Wow. It is an honor to be here. I feel very blessed and privileged and grateful that you would take the time tonight to be here. So thank you very much for being here. I got here a couple of hours ago, and I remember that the last official haircut that I had was here in Miami. And so I was trying to find a place that was open on a Sunday so I could get another haircut, which I indeed did get. And so I know you're thinking, where's the haircut? But no, this very nice woman at this place here in downtown Miami, young African American woman, telling me how she grew up in actually an army base in Germany. Her dad was in the army. Then they moved to Georgia when he retired, and living in Georgia, she thought Miami was the place to be. Where she would make it. And I said, so how's that going? Because it's a really exciting place here, wonderful. I love this. It's just no place in America like Miami. And she said, the people are great, and there's lots to do, but it's very hard to live here. It's hard. It's a struggle to survive and to get by. And she said, I read a statistic in the paper the other day here that said that those who actually can afford the Miami lifestyle as we know it in films and television and what we think of Miami, which is about 3% of the people can actually fully afford that and never have to worry about looking at their bank account. And everybody else figures out a way to make ends meet, or in my generation's case, we just keep racking up the credit card debt on top of the student loan debt. And I thought about that, and I thought just 3%, that sounds awfully, awfully low. But then I remembered just a couple of days ago in the New York Times where they had been doing an investigation for some months and got the Census Bureau to admit what the true poverty figures actually are in this country. I don't know if you saw this story a few days ago. It was really shocking. 1 out of 3 Americans, that's 100 million Americans, either live in poverty or just above poverty, where they're like a month away. At any given time in their lives, they could be in poverty in a month if anything happened, a catastrophic illness or a loss of a job or whatever. 100 million of our fellow Americans have to not only figure out a way to survive, but live with this sense of fear, constant fear, and having to take up much of their daily existence just trying to figure out, how am I going to make ends meet? How am I going to pay the rent this month? How am I going to afford the mortgage this month? And it almost seems like an evil genius plot where those in charge, those in power, figured out the way to keep people from being politically active, from actually, upending this rotten deal that they've received, is to make their lives just as miserable as possible so they really don't have the time because they're working 1 job or 2 jobs, or if they're single parents, they've got kids that they're trying to take care of. Maybe they're taking care of the neighbor's kids because the neighbor person has a second job at night, on and on and on. And I've been thinking about this a lot lately because I've been very active in the Occupy Wall Street movement. And and I was down there last night. Actually, I spent the bulk of the afternoon at one of the committees that's been formed to write down, to actually come up with the goals of the movement. Yes. I know. Yes. those of you who are more disciplined and organized, I know yes, this has to happen. But let me just say something about the kids being all right. The young people who are really the motor, the engine in this movement. I mean, thank God for this next generation. They know that they've been screwed. They know that those of us who are my age, who are in the baby boom generation, we got to have a better life than our parents had. And yet we're not passing that on so that our kids have a better life than we have. And they know that. And they know that it's a bit of a raw deal. Not only that, they're going to have to pay off our debts for these 2 unnecessary wars and everything else. But these kids, I know it looks like, they're beating on their drums and their bongos and they're full of life and they're camping out in tents and they're doing this and that, whatever. But remember, any movement that begins has to begin with those who are willing to take risks. And they're immediately ridiculed for, look how crazy or goofy they look or how they sound or whatever. But all the great movements start that way, right? Somebody had to burn the first bra. And that individual was ridiculed. Somebody had to burn the first draft card. Somebody had to be the person to not get up off the seat in the bus and move to the back. That must have seemed really strange. I mean, just when you think about even just the women's movement, which really started in the 1840s with the suffragette movement, imagine if you've read anything about it, how they were ridiculed, how they were tortured, put in jail. Husbands divorced them. Nobody would marry them. They were weirdos. You think women should vote? That just seemed like, that would just be like asking me to stand on my head right now. It would be just the weirdest thing if I suddenly did that. That's how weird it would seem to anybody back then. And they knew they had such a mountain to get over because they knew that to get the constitutional amendment passed, no woman would be able to vote on that amendment. So they had to get something passed that not one single one of them could have a say in. I mean, just think about that, right? And yet they were able to accomplish this. Sometimes we start to feel, a bit down and depressed about, the right wings, this country's taken over, this corporate America, or all these fat cats have all this money, and it's all true. They buy the politicians. The 400 wealthiest Americans have more combined wealth than 150 million Americans combined. 400. I mean, how can we really call ourselves a democracy, an egalitarian society where we try to have some sense of fairness and everybody gets to participate and have a say, when 400 have more than 150 million? Isn't democracy supposed to be like this big table and everybody gets to have a seat at the table? Doesn't mean it's necessarily an equal seat. Maybe some people get bigger chairs, maybe a little cushion on the bigger chair, but everybody gets a chair at the table, right? And if there's a big pie on the table, our goal is to try to divide that pie up fairly. It's probably impossible to carve it up so everybody gets an equal slice, but we can make sure that everybody gets a slice and gets a fair slice of that pie, right? Well, that's not the America that we live in now. And we're hanging on to what's left of our democracy by just a few threads. And unless we all get involved, unless we get up out of our seats and become part of this movement right now, Occupy Wall Street is not about going down and sleeping in a tent in front of the federal building or wherever they are here in Miami. It's about you deciding what you can do to try and stop the inequity, the horrible, tragic inequity that exists in our country right now. And there is something that each and every one of us can do. And I think so I was on this goals committee yesterday, and we're going to put some things out there that everybody can do. And eventually we will have this list of demands of what we want changed. I can tell you a few of the things that I'd like to see happen right now. Number one, reinstate Glass-Steagall. Put the regulations back on Wall Street. Put the regulations back on the banks. Number two, get the money out of politics. Remove money from politics. It's got to go. Number three, remove the Bush tax cuts for the rich. It's got to go. Number four, in order to have Social Security money available till 2075, all we have to do is make those who earn over $110,000 a year pay the same flat tax all the other schmucks who make $20,000 and $30,000 and $40,000 a year have to pay 7% of their income to Social Security, and the rich don't. Make the rich pay just what everybody else pays, and we've got money till 2075. These are not hard things to do. We can do this. And you know what's great about this movement is it already has the vast support of the public. I saw one poll, a National Journal poll, 59% of the American public says that they agree with the goals of the Occupy Wall Street movement. 59%. The movement's only 9 weeks old. I don't know of any movement in its 9th week that had, those of you who are my age or older, the feminist movement of the 60s, did we have 59% of the country behind us in the first 9 weeks? Did Martin Luther King have 59% of the country behind him in 1955? No. 1965, the anti-war movement as it was just beginning. 59% of America with us on that? No. Already this movement has the vast majority of Americans believing, yes, we have to do something about this inequality, about this inequity in this country. That's an amazing accomplishment. As much as they put down or ridicule the encampments or whatever, it has already had some important victories. Number one, they've changed the national debate. 9 weeks ago, what were we talking about? The debt ceiling. When's the last time you heard somebody talk about the debt ceiling? You know, that was what we were talking about at the beginning of September. Now we're talking about the things we should be talking about. Jobs, taxes, student loans, all these things that weren't being mentioned, and they're the things that really affect people in their daily lives. So this is incredible that this has happened, and I think it's a moment for all of us to take advantage of right now, because I want to just let you in on a secret here. You live in a liberal country. America, the United States of America, is a liberal country. It is a center-left country, not a right country, not a center-right country. It is a liberal country. Now, I'm looking at you. You can't see how you look right now. And I know you're thinking, Mike, you're breathing the air of Miami-Dade Community College. You know, yes, it looks liberal here, but you haven't been to Ocala. Well, let me tell you about Ocala. Because this is where we're wrong, and this is where we need to change our thinking about this. We live in a liberal country, all right? All the polls show on just about every issue, other than maybe the death penalty, the majority of our fellow Americans agree with the liberal position on the issues. Over 60% now are opposed to these wars that Bush got us into. 80% supported us going in. 60% now are opposed to these wars. That's incredible. 85% of Americans want stronger environmental laws, not weaker ones, stronger environmental laws. Over 80% of our fellow Americans believe women should be paid the same as men. That's a liberal position. 72% believe taxes should be raised on the rich. 72%. That's the liberal position. And for the first time ever in September, the polls that were taken, 54% in one poll, showed that a majority of our fellow Americans believe that gay marriage should be the law of the entire land. 54%. That's the America you live in. That's your America. You live in a liberal country. Your fellow Americans are very, very liberal on these issues. They don't like to call themselves liberals because we helped to make that a dirty word. Liberals helped to make that a dirty word by disowning it, by not using it anymore, right? Ran away from it. Republicans went, boo, liberal. Oh, no, no, I'm not a liberal. I'm not a liberal. You know, it's like you could hear the cock crowing 3 times. Every time Peter, I'm not a liberal. Sorry, there's a little Bible lesson there. I was like, I'll have more on that later. But it's true. I mean, we ran away from it. The American people didn't run away from it in terms of their own values and their conscience. They're very liberal on the issues, but they don't like to call themselves liberals, and sometimes they don't like to vote for liberals because liberals don't seem to have the courage of their convictions. I mean, that's something I really admire about the right, is that they believe in what they believe in. They're not just saying it because it's cool. They really believe that Adam and Eve rode on dinosaurs 6,000 years ago. No, they really believe. They believe this stuff. They believe Obama was born in Kenya. They believe it. They believe. What was the percentage? It's like 22% said of Republicans said that there's a possibility he may be the Antichrist. Like he wasn't even born in Kenya. He was born in the netherworld. They believe that stuff. What is our side? What do we look like? What do we look like we believe in? You know, our side, we're like Harry Reid. You know, well, okay. I guess we could compromise some more and oh no, they're going to filibuster. Oh no, don't filibuster. No, we don't want you to we'll withdraw the bill. We'll withdraw the bill because we don't want you standing up there for 48 hours reading from cookbooks. Oh no, don't do that to yourselves. No, we'll withdraw the bill. We'll withdraw. We'll put your language in the bill. We'll put your language in the bill. No, you're still going to filibuster? I know. No. Here's what we can do. We'll just introduce bills that you used to write just a few years ago. And we'll just call it a different name, but it'll be your bill. No. Oh no, you're going to filibuster. Oh no, they're going to filibuster. Oh no. I mean, right? I mean, they compromise. The people who are there, if you're part of my, side of the political fence, our representatives are compromising before they even have to compromise. They start with a compromise. What kind of thinking is that? It's like, and then this a whiny tone, that's not how they sound, right? Obama won with a 10 million vote margin. 10 million. That's 3 times what Bush beat Kerry with. And I'm not even talking about Ohio. I mean, that's 3 times. He won by 10 million votes. And yet, but it's this whole, compromise and let's get along and that's why people don't want to be liberals. That's why they don't say they're a liberal, because they know too many of us. It's like, look, everybody in here has got a Republican in the family, right? Right? You're going to have Thanksgiving dinner with them in about 4 days. Your conservative brother-in-law will be at the table. Yes, they're having to turn the volume down on C-SPAN. The wails and moans from the audience. Yes, don't remind me. Oh, no. But you know that Republican in your family, that's the disciplined one. That's the organized one. I mean, I admire them. They are ferocious. Can you imagine if McCain had won with a 10 million vote margin, that the Republicans would have come in going, well, here's an olive branch and we just want to get along now. And no, they would come in, and rightly so, if 10 million more Americans wanted them, saying, we're in charge. We're in charge. And this is what we're going to do. And if you don't like it, get out of the way. God, there's something you got to admire about that, right? They would be right to do that. They have a 10 million vote margin. But this is how we sound. This is how liberals sound. Have you seen my car keys? No, I haven't seen your car keys. I thought I gave them to you. No, you put them over there. No, they're not over there. I looked for them. We are, right? We liberals, we lose our car keys constantly. And the Republican in your family never loses his car keys. He's got little hooks by the back door with label maker names over the hook. There's my Beamer key. There's my Hummer key. There's my Mercedes key. Right? That's why they win. Organized. Not our side. Our side is like, this is how we sound. So where do you want to go eat tonight? I don't know. Where do you want to go? I don't know. We could get Italian. No, we had Italian last night. How about Chinese? No, Chinese makes me feel a little, it's like goes on. The Republican in your family, he says, get in the car. We're going to Ponderosa. Decisive. Disciplined. Organized. We would do well to take a page out of their playbook and start behaving in that manner. Are you with me on this? Come on. Republicans are watching this now on C-SPAN. They're going, damn right, that's the way we are. November 2nd, 2008, Election Day, remember? Going in there, oh my God, it was like one of the best days of my life. Do you remember going into the voting booth that day? Did anybody get emotional? Anybody, while you pulled the curtain? Right, yeah, you pulled, come on guys, some of you guys got emotional. Not just the women in here. Thank you, yes. Pulled the curtain and there was the moment. I never thought I'd see it happen in my lifetime. Those of you who are my age and older, we remember the signs that we grew up with, whites and coloreds. You can use this room, but you have to use that room, right? And in our lifetime, this moment was going to happen in the United States of America. That's just how good we are. I just couldn't believe I got in there and I teared up. And in Michigan, you use a felt pen to color in the circle by the name, and then they put it through a scanner, and God knows what happens to it then. But can I just say, we're in Florida, so there's got to be some Canadians in this room, right? Canadians, don't be afraid. Just where are you? Identify yourselves. Green cards. Okay. All right. Now, see, they're too polite to tell us that they don't mess around with this computerized voting and scanning and all this stuff. They vote on a little white piece of paper with a number 2 pencil. That's how they vote in Canada. And you never hear of any trouble up there of the count, right? I mean, they have all the votes counted in 3 hours. It's the second largest landmass on Earth, next to Russia. And they've got to bring those votes in by dog sled and Zamboni on the backs of baby seals. They've got to get those votes in, and they get them counted by 11 p.m., and they know who won. And they've got 5 political parties on the ballot. 5! Why would a nation of 34 million need 5 political parties? Well, because the Canadians think, two political parties just doesn't cover the broad spectrum of political thought when you have 34 million people. If you want true representation, about 5 parties would probably do it. It's like, but so they and other democracies, they don't have this voting problem that we have. And I always feel like I'm compelled to say that here at the scene of the crime. So I'm in the voting booth, and I've colored in the little circle by Obama's name, and one of my tears falls on the ink and smears the ballot. And I'm in there like trying to wipe it up, and I'm blowing on it. And my wife is standing outside the curtain, and she says, "What the hell's going on in there?" Now, she doesn't sound like that. I mean, she has a very sweet voice. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I came out of the voting booth. My eyes were all red. She said to me, "Pull yourself together, man." I know. I said, "I can't help it. I can't help it." "Did you see his name on the ballot?" She said, "Yes, I saw his name. I voted for him." No. "Did you see his name on the ballot?" "Yes, I saw his name on the ballot." "Calm down." "No. Did you see his name on the ballot?" He put his whole name on the ballot. He put his middle name on the ballot. Barack Hussein Obama. Oh! I'm like, I didn't know it was going to be. I looked down I went, "Oh no! Ooh, there must have been at least 100 political consultants telling him, do not put Hussein on the ballot." And there it was. And I felt like I was like in that scene in The Matrix where everything just went into slow motion. Just like the name Hussein just popped out at me. And then I'm going, no. We're going to lose Indiana. We're going to lose North Carolina. Virginia. Oh, no. Who let this happen? Why? Really? Why? Not necessary. Why would you do that in post 9/11 America? We're in the middle of this war, and you put Hussein on the ballot. Somebody asked him that. Why? And he said, "Because that's my name." Because that's my name. Hussein. It's Arabic for kindness. That's my name. And I just thought, what courage, what balls, what audacity to do that. The courage it took to just say and just stand up and say, that's who I am. This is what I believe in. This is me. I want that Obama back. I want him back. Bring him back. Barack Hussein Obama, please come back. Come home. Come home. I want that courage. I want that. I mean, we're starting to see it now, actually, right? The last few months, he's like come alive. it's like, well, he's got the fire in him now, but it's like, you just wasted 3 years. Why? You should have come in like gangbusters the first 2 months when we had both houses, before we lost anybody and we had the votes. Should have come in like Roosevelt. Should have come in and said, this is the way we're doing it, damn it, get out of the way. If you don't like it, vote me out in 4 years. I'm going to do just what you would do. That's what I'm going to do. Because the American people have put me here and they've told me to do this. Oh, geez, and he just held out olive branch after olive branch. And I thought at the beginning, oh, God, well, he's a better man than I am. He really does believe in loving your enemy and turning the other cheek. And I thought, wow, that's really, and you know what? These Republicans, they're Americans too. We're all in the same boat. No, it's true. We're all in the same boat, folks. And we are going to sink or swim together. We're all Americans. even though they may demonize us or call us anti-American, we acknowledge them as our fellow Americans, right? That's who they are. So I thought, wow, that's really something. Hold out the olive branch. 1 olive branch, 2 olive branches, 3 olive branches. 4, and each time they smack it out of his hand. 10 olive branches, smack. 20 olive branches, smack. Boehner and McConnell and Cantor, on the night of the inauguration, we now know this, had dinner. And they made a decision that they were going to block him every single time on every single issue. They were going to grind the wheels of government to a halt. They were going to pretend that he just didn't exist for the next 4 years, and then they get rid of him. They would make him, to use the words of Ralph Ellison, or to paraphrase them, the invisible president. They would make this black man, they would pretend that he just wasn't there, that it didn't really happen. I don't know if you saw on the news today, Michelle Obama being booed at the NASCAR event. At the beginning of the Tea Party stuff, I thought, well, I understand a lot of these people, why they're involved in the Tea Party. They've been hurt by this economy. They want their country back and all that, but it quickly devolved, didn't it, into something that wasn't really about any of that, but it was about Barack Hussein from Kenya, Obama. And they were going to force our government to a halt because they couldn't get over it. And now, now he's fighting back. It's a little late. I mean, to play the first 3 quarters of the football game, where you run the ball in the opposite direction a lot of times, to suddenly decide in the 4th quarter, I mean, this isn't like the team from Florida International, this is the White House, but now he's going to play the 4th quarter and try to win it. And I hope he does. But he's lost a lot of the enthusiasm. That's the biggest worry, isn't it, for next year? The worry isn't that he's going to have an opponent that he has to worry about, because I forgot, this is on C-SPAN. Okay. Oh yes, no, I think there's many fine Republicans running. I'm very afraid of all of them. Did you see that debate back in September? When they were asked this question, the 8 of them, who among you believes in science? That was the question. Do you believe in science? Only one raised his hand. Huntsman, the former Mormon governor of Utah, was the one who believed in science and civil unions, and he said global warming exists. And it's like, so that's the left wing of their party, is Jon Huntsman. And of course, because he is somewhat sane, right? And intelligent, worldly, he doesn't have a snowball's chance in hell of getting more than 2% of the vote. Yet if they were smart, right, that's who they would run. No, don't run Huntsman. No, his ties are weird. The color of ties he wears, he's sending a signal. It's a gay signal. No. Like I was saying, oh my God, these 8 actually think that America is as crazy as them. America is not that crazy. I know it feels that way. I know, again, when you head north and to other, you think, oh my God, by the time you get to the Georgia line, you're afraid to cross it, and you think, but please go with me on this. You live in a liberal country. Your fellow Americans do know right from wrong. They do understand these issues. They've been made ignorant to a large extent by an educational system that's been the lowest rung on our ladder of priorities. And so we've educated a lot of people that don't know anything about anything when it comes to civic duty. They've eliminated civics from many of our schools. They don't teach that anymore. And so, right now, do you realize, have you seen the latest statistic that we have almost 40 million adults in this country who are functional illiterates? That means they cannot read and write above a 4th grade level. 40 million adults. Well, what better way to create an ignorant population, to get them programmed to listen to Fox News and AM hate radio? Because one important element of fear and hate, before you get to fear and hate, you have to have ignorance. You have to have them ignorant like a child. A child believes there's a monster in the closet. What do? You go and turn a light on and you open the closet and you show them there's no monster in the closet. And then they can fall asleep. That's how this thing gets rigged against what's the right thing to do. And I'm not saying just because, I believe these things, the only right way is Michael Moore's way. I don't believe that. And of course, being liberal means you have an open mind and you want to hear what the whole argument is, right? You don't want to close off to it. You want to hear all sides and this. But that's not how they're wired. They're wired for ignorance. Make sure that we teach them in school, we teach them to the test, so that we can send them out there with just enough skills to operate the cash register at McDonald's and to be able to complete a full sentence, "Welcome to Walmart." As long as we can keep churning out a workforce that can do those things, the schools have performed their necessary function. Well, I don't believe it has to be this way. I believe that we are part of a majority movement. I believe we need to start acting like it. We need to start believing it. You know who believes it? You know who believes we're a liberal country? You know who believes we're in charge? They do. The right, the Republicans. They believe they live in a liberal country. You know how you can tell? Turn on any of their shows. They're angry all the time. Right? That tone of voice. Or who's the woman I used to listen to in Fort Lauderdale at the afternoon show? Who was going to be hired by the crazy congressman to, Joyce. If Bill O'Reilly believed he lived in a conservative country, that show would begin every night with zippity-doo-dah, zippity-day. Whoa, hello, America. Good evening. I'm Bill. Isn't it a great day to be in America? Oh, it's such a wonderful country. That's right. That's how you would sound if you thought the majority agreed with you and you were in charge. But that's not what they believe the truth. They believe it more than we believe it, that it's a liberal country. Here's another example of why they believe that it's not a conservative country, even though we think it is. It's not. They are trying to pass laws and have passed laws here in Florida and elsewhere to suppress the vote next year, to make it difficult for people to vote, to make it difficult for them to register to vote, to make it hard on poor people, to make it extremely hard on kids who are away at school to vote. Now, why have they done this? If they believed America was a conservative country, why would you want to suppress the vote? You'd want to encourage the vote, right? In fact, if they actually believed that this was a conservative country, they'd be passing laws in Florida, putting voting booths in every aisle of every Walmart all across the state of Florida. If they believe that, but they don't believe it because they know the truth, that our fellow Americans come down on the liberal side of the issues. So I'm sorry to keep hammering this point, but I need everyone to leave this room tonight knowing that you're in charge. Oh, but Mike, they have the money. They have the money. We're not the Koch brothers. They've got the money. How do we fight the money? Well, that's a good point. It's hard. It's hard, isn't it? It's hard. Except for one thing. As much as they have reduced our democracy to the bare minimum these days. It's still written on a piece of paper that it's one person, one vote. And those 400 who have more wealth than the 150 million, they must go to bed at night just sick, knowing that at any given moment, their whole thing could be upended. They only have 400 votes. No matter how much money they have, they can't vote more than once. 400 votes. What if the 150 million suddenly said, this is our country. We're going to structure it differently. We're tired of wages being stagnant for the last 30 years, while yours have tripled and quadrupled and quintupled. We're tired of it. They just must be all freaky deaky thinking about this, that they actually don't have the power. They know they don't have the power. We have the power. But it only exists when we decide to use it. One of the things that has to happen is that some of you in this room need to think about running for office. We need to stop relying on others to do this. You know, if you think that you can't do it, there are many examples of people who've done it with not that much money in this country. And we need to elect people who are going to run on platform position number one. When I'm elected, I'm going to get money removed from the electoral system. Or otherwise this just isn't going to change. We need constitutional amendments passed. Number one, we need an amendment passed that says that corporations are not people. That's just insane. Okay, I have blabbed on for too long here. Can I read you a little bit from my book? I'm going to sit down to read a little bit to you. Is that okay? Okay. This story is called Boy State, and they have Boy State here in Florida. Boy State and Girl State, right? Okay, so this is every year in Florida and every other state. Every high school picks 2 boys and 2 girls to go to Tallahassee or Lansing to play government for a week. And it's to teach 16 and 17-year-olds how to run for office. And so you go there and you elect a governor, a lieutenant governor, state legislature, the whole deal. I got picked for my high school. I don't know why. I was not on student council. I wasn't a class officer. I didn't like those students. And I pretty much kept to myself. I had no idea why I was there. And when I got there and saw that I was expected to go to these training sessions to learn how to be a politician, I wanted nothing to do with it. And they put us in dorm rooms at Michigan State University in East Lansing. And I just went to my dorm room, locked the door for a week, and never came out, except to go to the snack machine down at the end of the hall. Because in that snack machine was a new brand of potato chip. Now, this is the summer of 1971. And they had just invented Ruffles potato chips. And I could not believe this potato chip. The ridges, how they got them in there. And to me, I thought I was getting more chip per chip because it looked like a mountain of potato chip rising up, then rising up again and rising up again. So I went down there and I just ate Ruffles all week and just listened to music in my room and, doodled around or whatever. And anyway, so about 3 days left at Boy State, and I'm out of Ruffles, so I head down to the snack machine. And that walk down the hall became one of those moments that changed my life. I got down to the snack machine, and there was a poster above the machine. It said, "Speech contest. Write a speech on the life of Abraham Lincoln and win a prize. Sponsored by the Elks Club." I stood there looking at it for a while and thinking, well, that's very interesting because my dad had just gone to join the Elks Club last month. But he didn't join. Because when they handed him the application, printed at the top of the application were these 2 words, Caucasians only. You see, young people, in 1971, it was still legal in America to discriminate on the basis of race in private organizations. Public accommodations, anything public, illegal in 1971. Private, keep doing it. No problem. I stood there as a 17-year-old looking at this poster and thinking, well, isn't that ironic? That the organization sponsoring a contest on the man who freed the slaves is the Elks Club, the Caucasian-only Elks Club. I stood and stared at the poster for a while, and then I thought, you know what? I'm going to go write me a speech. I hurried back to my room, forgetting about the bag of Ruffles. Got out my pad of paper, my trusty Bic pen, and all the fury a 17-year-old can muster. How dare the Elks Club besmirch the fine name of Abraham Lincoln by sponsoring a contest like this? I thought I would start with subtlety, you know. Have they no shame? How is it that an organization that will not allow black people into their club is a part of Boys State, spreading their bigotry under the guise of doing something good? What kind of example are they setting for us youth? Who even allowed them in here? If Boys State is to endorse any form of segregation, then by all means, let it be the segregation that separates these racists from the rest of us. I showed up the next day to give the speech. 12 other boys had shown up. Most of them talked of Lincoln in the usual tones of the Civil War and Emancipation Proclamation, and you know, he couldn't tell a lie, or he didn't chop down a cherry tree, or whichever president that was. And Honest Abe. It was my turn to give the speech. Few in the room were prepared for the barrage of insults about to be hurled at the Elks Club. About halfway through my rant, I looked over toward where the adults were supposed to be, but there was no one there from the Elks Club. Just a teacher from a public high school who had been hired to be the judge of the contest. So I continued on with my speech. Half the boys in the room were looking like, oh boy, is he going to get it? And the one black kid in the room put his hand over his mouth, trying to conceal his laughter. When the speeches were over, the teacher stood up and declared, "Thank you, all of you, for your well thought out speeches. I was impressed with each and every one of you. And the winner of this year's Elks Club Boys State speech contest is Michael Moore." Well, thank you, but I really didn't want to win anything. I just wanted to say something about this. Well, you sure said something. And you'll receive your award at tomorrow's closing ceremonies with all 2,000 boys present. And you have to give the speech. No, what? No. Yes, that's the rule. You entered the contest. The winner has to give the speech at the closing assembly. No, but no, you don't want me to do that. Yes, I do. He told me that he'd help me out by not telling anyone the content of the speech before tomorrow. I thought, oh yes, that's much better. Let them all be hit with it fresh, like a big surprise. The kind of which has the speaker being chased from the great hall, his prize in one hand, his life in the other. The next day I arrived, scared of what was going to happen to me. They brought me up to the stage. They marched me past the dignitaries, the actual governor of Michigan, the actual lieutenant governor, and all these dignitaries, until the last man in the row of dignitaries on the stage, a man wearing a hat with antlers. It was not Bullwinkle, and this was not Halloween. This man was the chief elk, the head of all elks,
and he held in his lap the Elks Club Boys State Speech Trophy. He had a big, wide smile, a smile actually more appropriate for a Kiwanis or a Rotarian, with more teeth than I thought humanly possible. And he was so proud to see me take to the podium. Oh man, I thought, this guy is about to have a very bad day. I hope someone did a pat down. Unrolling my pages of paper, I peered out at the mass of newly minted testosterone, 16 and 17-year-olds who should have been doing anything else right now, shooting hoops, kissing girls, gutting trout, anything but sitting here listening to me. I took a deep breath and began the speech. How dare the Elks Club? I can't remember what else happened after that. But when I got to the end of it, I thought, please, some responsible adult, come up here and get me off the stage. I finished with my plea that the Elks change their ways. And as I turned my head to see the crimson tide that was now the face of the chief elk, his teeth resembling two chainsaws ready to shred my sorry ass, I turned and looked at him and blurted out, "And you can keep your stinking trophy." The place went insane. Nearly 2,000 boys leapt to their feet, whooping and hollering and cheering me on. The hollering wouldn't stop, and order had to be restored. I jumped off the stage and tried to get out of there, my escape route having been pre-planned. But too many of the boys' staters wanted to shake my hand, and then finally a reporter who identified himself from the Associated Press made his way toward me, notebook in hand. He stopped me and he said, "Who are you? Where are you from? Why did you say that?" I gave him some quick answers and then broke loose, headed out the side door, down the path to the Kellogg dorms. Got in, checked the machine for ruffles, rushed to my room and bolted the door. At least 2 hours passed, and it seemed like I was in the clear. No authorities had come to take me away. No Elks militia had arrived seeking revenge. All seemed to be back to normal until the knock on the door. "Hey," the anonymous voice barked, "there's a call for you." Well, the dorm rooms had no phones. "Well, where's the phone?" I asked. "Down the end of the hall." Oh, that was a long walk, but I needed the ruffles. I opened the door and headed down the long hallway to the one public payphone where the receiver was hanging, dangling by its cord. I picked up the phone. "Hello?" I answered nervously, wondering who would even know where I was or how to find me. "Hello, is this Michael Moore?" the voice on the line asked. "Yes." "I'm a producer here at the CBS Evening News with Walter Cronkite in New York City. We've got a story that just came over the wire about what you did today, and we'd like to send a crew over to interview you for tonight's newscast." "Huh?" "We're doing a story on your speech exposing the Elks Club for their racial policies. We want you to come on TV." "Come on TV?" There was not enough Clearasil in the world to get me to go on TV. "No, thank you, bye." Click. I hung up on him and ran back to my room. But I found out that night that I don't get to control the news. And there it was on the evening news. And today in Lansing, Michigan, a 17-year-old boy gave a speech that took on the Elks Club and their segregationist practices, shedding light on the fact that it is still legal for private clubs in this country to discriminate on the basis of race. The next day, the phone rang off that hook. Even as I was packing up to leave, I didn't answer any of the calls, but I heard from the other boys that there were reporters phoning from the Associated Press, 2 TV networks, the NAACP, a paper in New York, another in Chicago, unless it involved them offering me free food or an introduction to a girl who might like me. I did not want to be bothered. When I got home to my parents, the phone continued to ring. Finally, a call came from the office of Michigan Senator Phil Hart. He wanted to talk to me about coming to Washington. The aide said that it was something about a bill that would be introduced, a bill to outlaw discrimination in private entities. A congressman would be calling me to testify in front of a congressional committee. Would I be willing to do that? No. Why are they bothering me? Hadn't I done enough? I did thank him, though, and said I would discuss it with my parents, though I never told them because they would have wanted me to go to Washington, D.C. Instead, I went out and mowed the lawn. The following year was not a good one for the Elks Club of America. Many states denied them their liquor licenses, the unkindest cut of all. Grants and funds became scarce. Various bills were introduced in Congress to stop them and other private clubs. And then the federal courts in D.C. dealt them the death blow by taking away their tax-exempt status. Facing total collapse and the scorn of the nation, the Elks Club voted to drop their Caucasians-only policy. Other private clubs followed suit. The ripple effect of this was that now racial discrimination everywhere in America, be it public or private, would be prohibited. My speech was occasionally cited as a spark for this march forward in the racial fixing of the great American experiment. But there were other speeches and other actions far more eloquent and effective than mine. Most important for me, I learned a valuable lesson at the age of 17. I learned that change can occur anywhere, with even the simplest of people and the craziest of intentions. And that creating change didn't always require having to devote your every waking moment to it with mass meetings and organizations and protests and TV appearances with Walter Cronkite. Sometimes change can occur because all you wanted was a bag of potato chips. Thank you. Thank you. No, thank you. Wow. Thank you.